Hello students and welcome to InstaOut's geography class. We believe in democratizing education for all. Last time we studied the different types of farming which is done in India, and also we spoke about the different types of crops grown in India, right? So let us see what is in store for us. Non-green food crops. Oilseeds in India. India was the second largest producer of groundnut in the world. Oilseeds cover 12% of total cropped area in India. India was the third largest producer of rapeseeds in the world. Main types are groundnuts, mustard, coconut, sesame, soybean, castor, cotton, linseed, sunflower. So these are some of the non-grain food crops, correct? Now uses, where it is used in cooking, then soap, cosmetics, ointment, all these things are made the raw material of these seeds, right? So now groundnut, talking about groundnut, it is a kharif crop and 50% of oilseed in India, it is groundnut itself, right? So top states that grow groundnut are Gujarat, Rajasthan and Tamil Nadu. Linseed and mustard, rabi crops. Sesame, kharif crop, especially in north, rabi crop in south. Then castor, both rabi as well as kharif crop. Tea cultivation, it is done in mostly plantation type, right? It is a plantation type of agriculture. If you see, we have studied about what plantation is, right? Initially, it was started by British in India. Now it is completely Indian owned. Grows in tropical and subtropical regions, right? The climatic condition is tropical and subtropical. It needs deep, fertile and well-drained soil. So well-drained soil is the soil which can percolate water properly, and it also drains the water. Requires warm, moist and frost-free climatic condition, right? So frost is, it shouldn't be completely covered with frost. So then if it does, then the tea crop is spoiled, right? So even showers promote growth. Even showers means proper rainfall, not very heavy rainfall also and not very less also. Then labor intensive, more of labor are required over here. Manual work is done. You must have seen people plucking the tea leaves, right, in the basket that they put behind their bags and they pluck the tea leaves, right? So a lot of skilled labor over here is required as well. Processed in gardens. So then it just doesn't end over there at the farm. Only the leaves are being plucked over there. Afterwards, a lot of processing is involved till you actually get your tea bags. Now, major states that produce tea are Assam, West Bengal, Tamil Nadu and Kerala. Apart from this, the states like Himachal Pradesh, Uttarakhand, Meghalaya, Andhra Pradesh and Tripura also grow tea. If you see, second largest producer after China. So we have reached the second largest in the year 2020. We are the second largest producer of tea, first being China. This is how tea cultivation looks like. See, I told you how they have the basket behind them and they pluck the tea leaves. Alright, now the next is coffee. Coffee in India renowned for high quality. Yes, we are known for high quality coffee that we grow. Arabica variety originally from Yemen. High global demand. So it is in high demand totally in the world. First cultivated in Baba Budan Hills, right? And then grown in Nilgiris, Karnataka, Kerala and Tamil Nadu as well. Now, horticulture in India 2020 again, second in fruit, vegetable after China. Again, we rank the second. Tropical and temperate fruits are grown in India. So, let's see what kind of fruits are grown. Mangoes, most of us favorites, right? In Maharashtra, Andhra Pradesh, Telangana, Uttar Pradesh, West Bengal, mangoes are grown. Talking about oranges, Nagpur is very famous as well as Cherrapunji. Bananas, again this is a plantation type of farming. This is done in Kerala, Mizoram, Maharashtra and Tamil Nadu. Then lychee and guava is also grown in India. Which states grow this is Uttar Pradesh and Bihar. Then pineapples in Meghalaya, grapes in Andhra Pradesh, Telangana as well as in Maharashtra. Apples, pears, apricots, walnuts are grown in Jammu and Kashmir and Himachal Pradesh. Vegetables, if we see, pea, cauliflower, onion, cabbage, tomato, brinjal, potatoes are also grown in large number in India. And now there is an interesting activity that you have to do. There are certain materials listed over here which are made up of rubber. It's like a rubber product. You have to add in your own. Okay, so like tires are made out of rubber. Then rubber bands, erasers, shoes. So these are something in in a daily thing. You can see it around you, right? So gloves, say rubber hoses, mats, seals and gaskets, bells, toys, medical supplies, rubber gloves and all these things, right? So you see it everywhere. You should add a little more of your own as well. Now, industrial crops are crops which are used in industries as a raw material, right? So these are mostly the cash crops, right? So the very first one is rubber. Rubber is grown as a crop on the field, but it is used in industries as a raw material. Some of the examples we have already seen in the previous slide. The equatorial crop grows in the equatorial region, also grown in tropical and subtropical areas. So equatorial, tropical and subtropical areas you will find rubber grown. It needs moist climatic condition, humid climate, humidity should be there. All right, 200 centimeters rainfall to 25, and the temperature should be like around 25 degree Celsius, right? And key industrial raw material. It is key raw material in industries. Major regions that grow rubber are Kerala, Tamil Nadu, Karnataka, Andaman and Nicobar Islands, and Garo Hills in Meghalaya. Fiber crops in India, cotton, jute, hemp, natural silk also are grown. Right, now let us understand this. Cotton, jute, hemp grown in proper cultivation takes place. Silk on the other hand is obtained from a silkworms cocoon. From the cocoon we get the silk. That entire process, it is known as sericulture. Coming to the next thing, cotton. Origin India, main raw material for textile industries. It has been used from years together. So main raw material in India for textile industry. 2017, in that particular year, it was the second largest producer after China. Grows in black cotton soil of Deccan Plateau. Very, very famous. The black soil, it is also known as the cotton soil, right? So black soil is required for cotton to grow, and this is found in Deccan Plateau of India. Needs high temperature, it needs light rainfall, proper irrigation facility, and it needs frost-free days. How many frost-free days? 210 frost-free days. Bright sunshine is required for this crop to grow properly. Then it is a kharif crop, 6 to 8 months to mature. So it takes a good amount of time to mature till you can actually harvest it, right? Major producers of cotton in India are Maharashtra, Gujarat, Madhya Pradesh, Karnataka, Andhra Pradesh, Telangana, Tamil Nadu, Punjab, Haryana and Uttar Pradesh. This is how a cotton crop looks like. Alright, the next industrial crop is jute. Known as the golden fiber. This is very important. It is known as golden fiber. Grows in well-drained. The soil has to be well-drained. It has to be fertile soil and of flood plains. Normally, the area where the river has flooded and formed plains, right? So that kind of fertile soil it requires. Needs high temperature for growth. So another thing, it needs high temperature. Major producers of jute are West Bengal, Bihar, Assam, Odisha, Meghalaya. And what are the uses? They make gunny bags, they make mats out of his rope, yarn, carpets, artifacts. So all these things are made, hence it is termed as a golden fiber. Historical context, if we see agriculture in India, a practice for thousands of years. From thousands of years, we are in India. Agriculture has been practiced. Lack of techno-institutional changes, which is hindering the production, the amount of production that could be right in India. So we need to develop a little more where it comes to technology. Then reliance on monsoon. We are totally dependent on monsoon for supply of water, right, to our crops, and natural fertility remains prevalent. So here, what is happening? The natural fertility of the soil is there. Yes, it is there, but then what happens if constantly we are growing crops on that? The crops take nutrients from the soil, right? So if constantly we are growing and we are not giving the soil to replenish, what is going to happen eventually with the soil? It is going to lose its fertility, right? So these are small little things that we need to take care of, and the farmer should be educated regarding these things. Now, post-independence, what happened? Okay, what are the different reforms that took place after independence? Focus on collectivism. Okay, so they started integrating things, consolidation of holdings, cooperation, abolition of zamindari system. Earlier, this zamindari system was, a lot in what you can say in process, where people used to keep their fields for at mortgage for, the farmers are poor, right? If they needed some investment to be made, they had to take the money from the rich landlords and all. So all these things were happening, where a lot of exploitation of farmers was going on. So all of these things were slowly abolished, correct? And then the focus was on private ownership also, and of course we'll be learning more about this in further classes. But yeah, land reforms was the main focus. So main thing, reformation of land of the first 5-year plan which was done. So land reform, we knew that we are an agrarian country. Agriculture is the backbone of Indian economy, so we had to focus on this. So first 5-year plan, land reform was our major agenda. Then a fragmentation of land holdings addressed through consolidation. Now, what used to happen is the land holdings were normally fragmented. Like for example, say a farmer has 3 sons, okay, and he is having 3 acres of land. So he after because they are his heirs, so he will down distribute in those 3. Maybe those 3 sons have 3 more sons. So like this is how what is happening. The fragmentations of land is taking, it's breaking down, and smaller land holdings are there. So this was also creating a problem in our country. Now, implementation challenges. What are the challenges over here? Enacted land reform laws, but implementation was quite slow. It took time for it to actually get into the system. Agricultural reforms, especially in 1960s and 70s, green revolution. This is something very, very important. It totally changed the face of agriculture in India, right? It actually got a revolution, if you can say. Use of package technology, a proper good technology was used. The farmers were educated. The HYV seeds were used and made available to the farmers. The high yielding variety of seeds, right? All of these techniques, how to use water, what kind of crop requires how much amount of water, proper irrigation techniques were introduced. So all of this got a total different change in a modernized agriculture was now taking place. White Revolution, on the other hand, operation, also known as Operation Flood, development concentrated dairy product. Basically, this was dairy development area. So dairy products over here, that is the White Revolution. Comprehensive land development, 1980s and 90s. Institutional and technical reforms started taking place. Changes started taking place here. Crop insurance against drought. Now here, insurance was given to the farmers when there is a drought, when there is less water and the regions are dry. There's no rainfall. Maybe as we saw that many farmers are dependent on rainfall for their for the water to the crops, right? So yes, insurance was given. If there is any natural disaster like flood, cyclone, fire, other diseases spread, so yes, they had certain kind of backing. Establishment of Gramin banks. So these also provided a lot of help to the farmers. So these are small banks which gave cooperative societies were also there, which gave loans to the farmers on less interest, okay, and low interest loans for farmers, as I said. So that is one thing. Then introduction of Kisan Credit Card. So KCC, this is one thing, Kisan Credit Card, and personal accident insurance scheme was also initiated. Now this was all done for the farmers so that they are also they can concentrate more on the proper cultivation of their lands. Now, comprehensive land development, 1980s to 90s, special weather bulletins and agricultural programs on radio and TV. This was also a great revolution that caused so proper, weather conditions which are prevailing. So this was all the forecast of the weather, that this was all published on the local radio, the television, so that the farmers are aware and they accordingly, they plan their developments in their field, right? The government announced minimum support price, remunerative and procurement prices for the crops. Okay, now this is how the modernized agriculture looks like. Look at the way they are providing water, or maybe the fertilizers and all to the soil. Look at the land holdings; it is huge, right? So modern agricultural technology and equipments used in the farm. Bhudan Gramdan movement. This is something that we should know. Vinoba Bhave, Gandhi's spiritual heir, promoted Gram Swarajya. All right, now he spread certain. Let us see what his contribution was. Spread Gandhiji's message through Padyatra. He spread his messages through his Padyatra. Then Pochampalli, if you see here, landless villagers requested land. Now here there were many villagers who had no land. They didn't know how to where to grow their crops, and also they requested for land. So Sri Ramchandra Reddy, he was a person who donated 80 acres of land to these landless villagers. Okay, so this is Bhudan. Now this expanded. So how did expansion of this take place? Vinoba Bhave promoted Bhudan and Gramdan across India. So he was promoting this across India. The Zamindars donated villages, that is Gramdan was done to them. Like a fear of land sealing act prompted donations as well. So here people were donating as well. Impact. What was the impact to this? Known as a bloodless revolution. Let's quickly summarize what we have done in this chapter. We studied about the different crops which are grown in India. Then non-grain fruit crops we studied about. Industrial crops and major producers. In which state is the major producer of those industrial crops. Agritech and its historical context. Also we studied about comprehensive land development we studied about, and what is Bhudan and Gramdan movement, the bloodless movement, what it is and its importance. I hope you have understood and enjoyed the session. Thank you and have a nice day.